What up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So glad to have you. Today we got something a little different for you. Myself and Erik Figge, the co-creator of Evermor, the television show that we're doing, also the co-founder of Ronin Entertainment, we got to do an AMA with Legion M on their Twitch channel. And we spent about an hour talking to Taylor and to Terry from Legion M, just talking about the show, talking about writing, talking about just random stuff. So hope you guys like it, enjoy. It's a bit long, but there's some good tidbits in there. We also have some footage from the short film that we shot in that AMA, so we hope you guys like that. And we'll also put that in a separate video here shortly, but yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. So kick back, relax, drink some coffee, and enjoy our AMA with Legion M. All right, we'll see you guys.
Take two. Man, technical directing and hosting at the same time. I always leave the mute button on, and I gotta say, I nailed that opener too. I nailed the opener.
What's your best opener ever?
Let's try this one more time. Hold on, wait, this didn't happen. What's up, Legion M? My name is Taylor Gledhill, and you're watching Legion M Live on a fantastic Thursday, full of sound, full of life, full of love. All right, we've got an awesome show for you today. We've got Terry Luberoff, our COO, and also the co-creators of Evermor, one of our fantastic projects in development, Erik Figge and Perry Covington. They're right over here. They're right here, right next to you. So we're gonna kick this thing off, and then we'll get right to it. You're watching Legion M Live. All right, we are back with the co-creators of Evermor, Erik Figge and Perry Covington, as well as our amazing COO, Terry Luberoff. How's it going, everybody? How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing great. Now that everyone can hear me, I can tell everyone that I'm doing great. So guys, I'm curious, how have you been? Because you're both active military, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. How has it been for you? Are you both in California too, actually, now that I think about it? Or are you?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm California. So we're both Air Force.
Gotcha.
Yes.
What have you guys been doing for the past few months? I know that it got really, really busy.
We should clarify, we don't fly planes, we fly desks, right? Is that right, Perry?
Yeah, really well though. I fly the crap out of my desk.
Are you licensed for that?
We do, we're licensed.
Several certifications.
Like so much per minute.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty busy. Like for my base, we've done a lot of kind of the initial stuff that happened with the folks from Wuhan. The first group of passengers that came back to the United States for repatriation came through my base. So our group of individuals was handling that whole mission, working closely with the CDC and HHS just to make sure that those folks were safe and they're comfortable and they could do their quarantine here. And since that time, it's been just kind of a whirlwind of assisting where we can across the country, working with the media. I'm public relations or public affairs for the base. So a lot of what I do has to deal with working with the media, writing stories, creating videos, things like that, just kind of get the message out to the public and to our members on the base. So a lot of communication for me, and it's just been nonstop. Like today we had a flyover for all of the hospitals in our area.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That looked like it was going to be amazing.
Super cool. Yeah, it went really good. A lot of positive feedback. Talked to a bunch of outlets about it. It was great.
We also had a flyover, but I think ours might have been better. But
Uh-oh.
Just because you have fighters. But yeah, no, it was super good. I mean, but it's stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just us trying to make sure we stay connected with the community, trying to make sure that we communicate everything that's going on, and try to stay lockstep with our county to make sure that everybody's safe, and healthy, and all that good stuff. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot going on.
Yeah,
Eric,
and
what's your task through all of this?
so I'm also public affairs like Perry. Started out actually more with a historian background, which I've utilized in public affairs as well. Starting about mid-March, I actually started on a team called Checkmate was our name, basically. It has an Air Force history to it tied to the first Gulf War. And it's basically our cell or our group is still up and running, called Future Operations. So when this whole thing started, basically our job was to, they had ideas and operations and missions established for 72 hours and up to that. So our job was to look past 72 hours to predict what was going to happen going forward. And we basically would do research and write papers and make suggestions and up channel those to the planning section, and then eventually hopefully make their way to the policy group. I'll give you one example. So when we did the shelter in place was one of the first things we worked on. And so we wrote our recommendations in there. This is a group together collectively, and that went up. And I think a few days later, the governor issued the shelter in place order. And I was walking with the family to our park in the neighborhood, and our 2-year-old daughter was like, Daddy, can we go down the playground equipment? And my wife looks at me, and she's probably the most sarcastic person I know. She looks down to our daughter, Emily, and she goes, "No, honey, Daddy wrote something to close the parks. We can't go."
Now it's your fault. You're the bad guy.
I did this much of a part in that one, that like maybe that much. And so I was with Future Operations with the Checkmate cell, and it was really, really cool because it's working with the Department of Health Services, Wisconsin Emergency Management, and the Wisconsin National Guard, working as a cohesive team, and basically looking forward, like I said, into the future and predicting stuff like civil disturbance, like what's going to happen if this happens, the shelter in place, economic and whatnot. Within the last few weeks, I've moved on from that group because eventually, I've got epidemiologists and people like that, and they're like, "Well, what's your background?" I'm like, "I'm a historian," and so they're like, "Okay, all right." I'm like, "I can research." I think a lot of times I felt like I was the Captain Obvious in the room making a statement, and they're all like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." So since then, I've moved on to working with the Joint Information Center, which is basically public affairs. So like last week, I was up at 2 COVID testing sites up north in northern Wisconsin, up near the Canadian border, where you can get pasties.
Your accent's shining through there.
So I was up there basically taking photographs and video and B-roll for media, and then writing a story about what was happening up there. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of that, along with video editing, other products. We actually every Tuesday, kind of like this, we do a media brief with the Adjutant General for the state of Wisconsin and the Deputy Department of Health and Human Services, that the woman that runs that. So we do that. It's kind of familiar, except normally I'm the guy going like this on the teleprompter, hoping I don't screw up. So
I'm sure you're not screwing up. When you were writing those reports and sending them up the chain of command, it's like, writing a script and sending it into executives, and then the executives call and say, "Yeah, this coronavirus thing is not working for me. You make that a pack of wild lions instead."
I got a few notes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, kind of like that.
Well, thank you guys so much for your service and for everything you're doing. I know your schedules have been crazy over the past few months, and we've, at Legion M, we've still been asking you to turn in rewrites and continue work on Evermor, and you're just doing it all.
No, thanks. We actually have shadow writers. We haven't been writing in the last 2 years.
No, we stopped doing that. We're above that now.
It's your girl daughter, right?
To be honest, like working on the show is my decompression time. That's when I can get back to being just normal, I guess, as some modicum of normalcy, right? So I'm kind of glad for it, because dealing with all the other stuff is stressful. So when I get to work on the show, that's fun. That's the good times. So
we actually did the final draft collaboration thing for the first time this week.
Oh, how'd it go?
Good. It worked. Actually, yeah, it worked really well. It's just like Perry said, it really is so much of that's our release and our ability to connect and step outside of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's tough because because Evermor is, it's a blue sky thing too, right? It's a family show. So to kind of get into that feeling, it's sometimes difficult, but that's why Perry and I use scotch. So
Scotch. Lots and lots of scotch.
It's the perfect writing companion.
Does that show through in the drafts, Terry, from what you've seen?
Their drafts are amazing.
Just a bunch of paragraphs of like one key from someone falling asleep on the keyboard, or
our grammar's bad enough. Like we don't need
we don't need any help with that.
As Perry is lifting a mug of some unknown substance.
Coffee for sure. Coffee. It's only 5. Well, actually, it's 5.
It is. So for everyone in the chat, I'm just going to call out a couple of people who are watching. What's up, Michelle P. Carter, Sam I Am Legion. We've got Dino Might, I saw, G. Eidolon, Mad Movie Man, Lady Luthien. Everybody's excited. Actually, I think G. Eidolon said they want to know how fast, what Mach does your desk hit is the main question.
That's funny. That's a good one.
Really fast. Really.
So it's so fast you can't even tell it's moving.
Yeah, it goes around the world and back to its exact spot immediately.
So fast, and on occasion, Perry actually can't wear pants when he's at his desk.
Yeah, like right now.
I don't think any of us are wearing pants at all right now. The retail pants markets must be suffering during coronavirus, I have to say. Yeah. No one's buying pants now.
My wife the other day was like, I want to see what jeans feel like. I want to make sure that everything's still okay.
And I can tell you from experience, they're not. They're shrinking. The longer they sit in the closet, the faster they shrink. I'm telling you guys.
It's science.
It's not you, Terry.
It's
not. It's the jeans.
Right.
So why don't we dive on in, and for everyone who's watching right now, why don't you guys talk a little bit about your background, how you guys started working together creatively, and then also how you came to find the story about that would eventually become Evermor. I know it's a lot to unpack with that short question, but start from the beginning and tell us everything.
Once upon a time, there were 2 airmen.
Many moons ago. In a world. Do you want me to take the first crack at it, Perry? Yeah, man, go for it.
Okay. So I moved back to Wisconsin in 2016, but before that I lived in LA for 12 years. I first got out there in 2005. And I actually worked in the industry for about 3 years, kind of worked on a company that did military technical advising. We did shows like JAG, NCIS, and stuff like that, shows like that, Criminal Minds. And eventually it didn't pay the bills. And so I transitioned into the Air Force and worked history program because I was finishing my master's in military history and just kind of fell into that job. And then eventually I moved from the cyber warfare unit that I was working at. I know it sounds super cool.
It does actually sound really cool.
Cyber. Gary knows the inside joke. So I was at like 18 years of service or something, and I saw a job open up basically in the Air Force Reserves at Perry's base for historian, and I was already working in the LA Air Force Base as a historian, so I transitioned out there to March Air Reserve Base, became the historian, and the historian and PA kind of work hand in hand. And so got to know Perry, we became friends, and during this time we decided to move back to Wisconsin, and I was actually writing a book about March Field. And so I was on orders back and forth between Wisconsin and California, and lo and behold, the realtor that gets assigned to our house randomly, we didn't even pick her, by our bank, USAA, assigns this realtor. And I'm probably plugging businesses here, I don't know.
Right.
You guys get I think I said like USAA, and so they're great. And so anyways, we're at the closing of the house, And Twy knew that I was a writer, and she really liked basically the email banter between my wife and I a lot. And she said, "Do you mind if I ask you about a writing project sometime?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then at the closing, I completely forgot about it. And she goes, "Well, this writing project, here it is." And she slides over an envelope. I open it up, and it's a picture of the Forevertron. And she's like,
Which
"Do you know
is right behind you? That's the Forevertron right behind you.
right here?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely."
Now I know why you put 2 banners up, so you could do this and flex on people.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh, man. You are on the next level, my friend. Next level.
The tight shirt up here might look okay down here. It does.
You're wearing your little brother's t-shirt, and then you flex on people. I love it.
Terry, can we talk to Mandy about getting like tank tops that say the Forevertron is that way? Like...
I love it. I love it. I'm sorry, I interrupted. My bad.
Yeah, this also comes in adult. Anyway, where was I? So I told Twy, I said, yeah, absolutely. I grew up near the Forevertron in high school. It was one of those flashbulb moments. We were actually going there sophomore year to find parts at a surplus store nearby to make a soapbox car. And my best friend and I, Andy, walked through the back area, and all of a sudden there's this amazing sculpture. And it's just one of those days that was just absolutely perfect. I never forgot it. And then flash forward to college, I'm in a documentary film class, and a group in there did a documentary about Dr. Evermor. And there's probably been, I'd say, 5 or 10 documentaries done about him, not to mention the American Pickers TV show and a host of books and articles. But so I told Twy, I said, absolutely. And she goes, well, that's my dad. And I just wanted to know if you wanted to write something about that. We've always imagined that. So initially I started crafting it as a film, and I'm like, it doesn't feel right as a TV show, or maybe a TV show. And I started talking with Perry about it, and he was coming up with these great ideas. And I knew Perry had written a series of young adult books. And so I basically said, do you want to do this together? And he said, nope, I don't like you. And no funny. Actually, he's like, your guns are too big.
Yeah, that's pretty much, you're too intimidating is really what it boiled down to.
I'm still getting made fun of this for the rest of my life. Go ahead, Perry. You can take it from there if you want.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the gist of it. And then since I had that sci-fi fantasy background writing the YA novels, and I had tried to work with other writers before, just randomly on different projects, and it never really worked out. I just didn't have the same style. You know how it is. You try to work with other people, just people in general. But when Erik and I started writing together, just passing back ideas, back and forth, they kept building on one another, and they kept multiplying, and it came really easy for us to kind of get together a first outline of the show. I think we came up with the majority of the arc of the first season over a dinner at a Thai place, one night. And so, I mean, it's one of those things where, since it flows so easily, and it just feels right, and something special is there. So that's really what it boiled down to. Erik approached me with the project, and we started just chatting, and then literally over one dinner, we came up with the first season, and and it's been a whirlwind ever since. So it's been really good.
And I was basically think of them as like business trips. So I was TDY to California from Wisconsin in a room on base. So I go back to the room after what Perry and I talked about during the day, and would hammer out stuff. And then we talk about the next morning, then Perry would work on stuff the next night, and we basically just piggyback back and forth and talk about it in the morning over coffee. And that just kind of built from there.
Yeah.
And then,
not scotch.
What's that? No, not
scotch. It seems like Thai food and coffee is your secret ingredient to creativity.
Scotch was actually involved at the Thai dinner, I believe.
A good amount of scotch at the Thai dinner.
Yeah.
I think we wrote all of our notes on napkins too, didn't we?
Yep. Yeah, we did. And then, so to make the Legion M connection, I think we started writing in September, August of 2016, and we finished the script probably about March, spring time frame of 2017, and started taking it out. And then I think Perry and Twy had talked about going out to San Diego Comic-Con, And I think you guys were kind of vacillating on it. And I know I couldn't go. I can't remember what the reason was. I remember pushing you guys like, no, you guys should go. You should go. You never know what's going to happen. Yep. And Twaya, because American Pickers had been out to the park, she had an entertainment lawyer. And lo and behold, Terry, if you want to, that's where Terry comes in.
Yeah. So Twaya's entertainment lawyer is a really, really close friend of mine. His name's Michael Lovitz, and he does a panel at Comic-Con every year called Comic Book Law. And he does 3 full days. Well, it's not full days. He does 3 days of panels, an hour long each, an hour and a half. And he just goes through everything that creators have to know about entertainment law and comic book law and being able to navigate kind of that world. So I always speak on one of his panels. And Twaya and Perry happened to be there. And Michael's like, oh, I want to introduce you to someone. And I met you guys and you seemed really nice and super genuine, and told me about your project. And I said, well, I'd love to read it. And it took me, a month to get to after that.
Yeah.
But once I finally picked it up, I didn't even finish reading it before I called you. I think I read half of the script and put it down like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I called Michael and said, I'm in, count me in. I love this project. Thank God, after we told you guys, I did finish reading the script and it was actually pretty good.
It was only
that worked out.
It was only a slight letdown.
Yeah.
But it's rare when you read a script, like everything for me as a creative producer, a creative executive, when I respond to material, it's because my entire life has informed that response. It's, everything that I've watched and read and experienced, it's the things that made me feel childlike and feel a sense of wonder and awe that I'm always trying to recapture when I'm looking for projects. And it's very rare when you read a project that accomplishes that, where you read it and you get goosebumps and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly how I would have imagined it. Or, in a good way, not in a predictable way, in a satisfaction way. And this project delivers all of that. It's so exciting to me.
It's funny. I think it's, it's rare that you get to find projects like that, but it's rare to find people of that same mindset too, that come together to work on something, a project like that. So I just feel like, our DNA as a whole kind of is very similar when it comes to our influences and, what kind of shaped us as storytellers. So the experience with Legion M and with Erik and everybody else, I feel like I'm in my tribe. So, it's one of those things where I just feel really good about the whole thing.
Well, and I want to say too, it's one of those things where listening to the story, hopefully, any buyers out there, listen up. This thing's meant to be. It just is, with the way that it came together. I mean, Twaya's my realtor. Things like this don't happen just to happen. They happen. And I mean, I moved back to Wisconsin. I did writing when I was out in LA, but I never did anything with some of the stuff that I wrote. And I moved all the way back to Wisconsin, and that's where I get to this point. So the lesson is, you can leave your dreams, but sometimes your dreams never leave you. Yeah. So don't ever stop doing what you want to do and what you love.
So
that is for sure.
So we're starting to get a bunch of great questions in the chat about the project specifically. And so why don't we can do this in one of two ways. We can either have you guys describe sort of what Evermor is and the story that you guys came up with based off of the art park, but we also have the pitch video that you put together at one point. So what would you guys like to do? We could either play that video and talk about it, or we can talk about it and then play the video.
Since we've never got to show the video other than in a public forum, that's my voice.
He's like, let's do the video, you guys.
Terry, we were at WonderCon and Terry had this big one of those, the things that yanks you off stage. She's like,
it was like,
yeah, no, show the pitch video because that'll explain a lot, and then we can that might answer a bunch of questions actually.
So I want to preface the video. So this video we actually made in August of 2017 before we met Terry. So it's not the show and what it will end up looking like, but you get to see what the park is, and you get a taste of what the show is about, and just a kind of a feeling and a little bit of a tone of what the show is about. So take it with a grain of salt, but that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. So let me make sure. Let me give it a go and see if we can play this video. Here we go.
Super excited.
And we're back. Awesome. Isn't that so sick? I love that art park. I think it's so cool. I've actually never been to Wisconsin, believe it or not. I've driven across the country 4 times, and I've always taken a southern route. And so I've never had the opportunity to go the northern route, but at some point I really want to, and this is on my list of things to stop by and check out.
Yeah.
Beautiful state, man. Beautiful park. All of it's amazing.
Well, and a little plug for the park too. There was a Sci-Fi Wire ran an article talking about road trips and places to visit. And they ran an article in, I think it was January, maybe somewhere around there.
January sounds about right, yeah.
And I wish I could see the actual numbers compared to articles, but it's been shared 7,800 times.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good numbers. So let me see what we've got some questions from people who have been asking them all throughout the stream. So let's see. So Dino Might asks, for the Evermor crew, how did the story develop? I heard something about your father building the amusement park. Oh, well, maybe not yours, but did he start the story and did he start the story and you built on it, or did you dream up the story from the art he created? And they're talking about Dr. Evermor. So actually, maybe we could clarify the relationship between you guys and Twaya and Dr. Evermor, and maybe talk a little bit about Dr. Evermor's background too.
So Dr. Evermor, his real name is Tom Every, and he actually sadly passed away a month ago. So that's, as I said earlier, he's Twaya's dad, and he started building the Forevertron, I think about 1982, if I remember right.
The picture. I have a picture of him.
Yep, right there. So there's the Forevertron. There's also all these other art pieces that surround the park, like the Bird Band conductor with the Bird Band, and Twaya makes Love Morays, and there's what else is there? I'm trying to think of the Celestial Listening Ear, and all these other art pieces. The Master Control Tower, that all are a part of a cohesive storyline where Dr. Evermor goes into the Forevertron and blasts off into the heavens. And the doubting Thomases, whoever doubted him, are in this gazebo over here watching. You can also look through the telescope that you saw there in the video too and watch him as he blasts off into the heavens. So he created this magnificent story. I won't even go to all the details and all the pieces and all the storylines behind them, but they do form this cohesive story. So Perry and I looked at that and we said, what can we do with this storyline and these pieces of art that he's already created? That's where we came up with our story for the TV show. So while Dr. Evermor is a man in real life, in our TV show, it's Dr. Catherine Evermor, and it's the twins Ellie and Sam, and it's basically after the mysterious death of their parents, they have to live at the estate of Catherine Evermor, and that's where they discover basically a secret of their family's history, and basically a terrible war that's going on in a reality just beyond ours. And so if you want to talk a little bit more, Perry, too, about some of the inspiration that we found.
Yeah, no, so just like Eric was saying, so he had all these, disparate like storylines for each piece of art. And so when we were looking at all of that, we're like, man, how are we going to wrap all of that within an envelope of a TV show? Because there were so many different things happening. So then, when Eric and I started hashing out the storyline and trying to figure out who our heroes were going to be, we've always kind of talked about creating something that all of our family can sit down and watch together. So right away, we gravitated toward having, kids as being our main characters and being the heroes of the show. And from that point, we kind of developed the story about them being orphans and about them having to move with their aunt and discovering the Forevertron, and then this whole multiverse opening up to them as the story continues. So yeah, it was one of those things where there was heavy inspiration from the art, obviously. But then the story in itself of the show kind of just developed as we went along. And it was like a natural development too. It wasn't anything that was difficult for us to figure out, to be honest with you. But yeah, so the inspiration is big time from the park. But it is a very original story at the same time.
And it's so much of the theme is about family. And there's Terry had a book she was holding up earlier about Dr. Evermor. You could do a whole amazing documentary about what Twy's family went through. They lived in a mansion where Dad was creating all of this art and basically lost their home, and they were homeless for a while. So, you've got all these external forces that seek to tear a family apart. All these things that are happening to them. And that's when he, actually went to prison for a year. And I think it was for tax-related issues. When he came out of there, that's when he formed this alternate persona of Dr. Evermor, kind of against the system, and he built these things to basically be that voice. And so much of the TV show too is about the center of it is about the forces in the show that are seeking to tear this family apart, and everything that they're doing to try and get back together again. So that's a lot of like what happened with Twy's family.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, just looking through this book, you don't understand the scale of the sculptures that he made, but this is a picture of one of them, and you can see him placing the head on the top. It's really extraordinary how huge the Forevertron is, and you can kind of see it through that video, but you don't really understand until you see it in person. And I still haven't seen it in person, but I know, Eric, you've been able to go out there, and Perry, you too. What was it like the first time you actually saw it? And I know Eric saw it when he was a kid too. But.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about that really quick because, I got to experience it fairly recently, in the last few years. And so it's a very unassuming, thing when you go there, off the side of the road. There's not a grand entrance or anything like that. And you take this little windy path to get there. And then all of a sudden it opens up to this clearing, and you see the grandeur of all those structures. And it makes you feel about that big. And at the same time, there's this special sense of magic almost as you're walking through there. God, it's hard to explain really fully how you would feel. It's almost like when you watched a movie that inspired you for the very first time. It's that feeling, you know what I mean, where something sparks inside of you. So we had already gone through and wrote, the pilot and, outlined the season and everything before I went to visit. And then we went to visit, and it just sparked a whole slew of other things in my brain. And with Eric too, I mean, we kind of were vibing off one another, and it was that magical energy visiting the park that really kind of pushed us even further to create even more, just because it's such a special experience. It really is. It affects people on a different level, and it's really hard to put into words.
It's like Field of Dreams, right? I remember the movie, and the place is real.
Yeah.
And there was the phrase in the movie, if you build it, they will come. And Dr. Evermor and his family, they built it. And people have come literally from all over the world. They have a guest book that has signatures of people from all over the world. It's truly a global park. And that's with no advertising. Like Perry said, hidden behind trees. And there's a fence. And then you open up and there, you just walk in and there it is. It's like knowing a secret.
Yeah, that's really good.
And when Perry came to visit, we actually went to see Dr. Evermor, see Tom in the nursing home when he was still alive, and talk with him and kind of like get his blessing for the show.
That's really cool.
And it was absolutely fantastic. He had his hat on with a feather in it, and he had a stroke, I think 2 or 3 years prior to that. So, but he was still writing. He was still doing drawings, and he still had friends stop by who were taking his drawings and working stuff for him.
He was sketching while he was talking to us. That's how creative his mind was. Like he was chit-chatting with us while he was sketching something else entirely he was cooking up in his brain. And yeah, it was a very special thing to be able to meet him.
It was actually after, on our way back to my house from leaving the nursing home, that Perry and I came to the conclusion of what the ending is for the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Which is...
Don't ask me.
No spoilers.
We talk about this.
and I know
I'm not good at secrets.
They're like, okay, people are like, you might know the ending for a television series, but it'll probably change. And I don't think this one will. It's too perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's see. We've got a couple more questions. Mysterious one. Do any of the characters in the show correlate with your own real life families and friends? And if so, what are those traits that really stand out to you, and why did you decide to tell their story?
Such a good question.
It's a great question.
Harry, you want to?
Yeah, I think with any writer, any storyteller, you draw from your life, right? No matter what, no matter how original you think your idea is, you draw from your experiences in your life. And absolutely, there's traits in each one of the characters that I have pulled from my own family and friends. I know Erik has done the same thing, and it's a natural thing to do. Like with Ellie, there's certain traits about her that are just kind of an amalgamation of my 3 daughters. The being rebellious, being brave, courageous, ultra smart. All those things that I see in my daughters. I kind of poured that into Ellie, and Erik did the same thing with the characters too. So it's really, if you think about it, it's Erik and I's life kind of on the page, and all of our experiences poured into each one of these characters. So such a great question, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, all those traits are kind of there. I know I do have family, an aunt who's very much like Aunt Catherine, and not in a good way. So she's very, very abrupt and very blunt. So I love her to death, but I kind of, drew from that when we were writing stuff for Catherine. And yeah, so it's one of those things that absolutely our family and friends are definitely in the show, trait wise.
There's literally a character named after my son, Jackson. This is Jackson Gray, who's and it doesn't give away anything. He's James Bond, basically, that you'll see later in the show. But or in the series, and like Perry said, it's also the stuff with the negative things that you put in as a writer as well. There's a podcast I'm listening to now, and I'll forget the name of it, where they talked about having to put your whole body into lava, basically, as a writer, and that's what you're sacrificing to create good characters. And then that's what Perry and I did. Like, we just have to throw ourselves into these characters and for the good, the bad of them, so that they arc, so that they make sense of what people identify with. I think we've got, Terry's read our series Bible, and then we've got a lot of amazing characters in there. And what I think Perry and I love too is a diverse set of characters. Like, this is one of the most diverse shows. Super excited.
It's such a great show, and I don't want to give away too much because we haven't gone out with it to the market yet, but it asks the question, what if? You know, what if the West never, acted on manifest destiny and came to America and conquered the Native American tribes? And what if Great Britain remained a superpower to this day? You know, the what ifs that you guys put in there and explore in the series are so fascinating. And especially, I mean, Erik, as a historian, you have particular point of view on this kind of stuff. Without getting too detailed, can you tell us a little bit about the multiverse and kind of those what ifs and how you came to those questions?
Perry's laughing because like I can't do that. I can't.
If I'm setting you up for
no, it's just there's so many things I want to talk about. It's killing me right now.
I'll do one because you kind of hit on it a little bit, Terry, and with the manifest destiny, and it's a world that could be a movie or a show in and of itself, and that's what's beautiful about this world that we've all crafted together, is that it has so much potential to be so many different things for so many different people. And one of my favorites is a world that we'll go to where it does answer that question of, and I took from history itself, and I think it was the Iroquois nation, the 7-nation confederacy, which I think was actually 5 nations. And I kind of looked at that example from history and I said, well, what happens if 1,000 years ago, tribes started coming together and building a confederacy? And I looked and like, okay, what present day stuff do we have like that? We have the United Nations has 346 nations in it. So that's basically from after World War II. So what would it look like 1,000 years of coming together? And that's where we came up with the 700 nations of that particular Earth that we're going to go see. And it does say that what's that Earth going to look like? And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to have all its problems, just like, right now with what we're going through, with the pandemic, when the Western civilization is a dominant one right now, but that's ever changing. It's always in flux. And that's what's on these worlds as well. So it's never one or the other in the worlds that we're going to go see, but it does present to audiences in particular to see what something might look like if history unfolded differently for their culture, for their society. And I think that's especially important right now, and it's especially relevant right now.
And just to talk a little bit about the dynamic between Erik and I and how we approach these things, it's absolutely perfect that Erik's historian background is there for us to draw from. It's fantastic. And it's one of those things where we can develop a world and ask all those questions. And Erik can give our writing a historical point of view to kind of see where that might evolve. And then I'll jump in there. And so one of the worlds is, a world that's dominated by the East, all of Asia. And so we'll talk about how that dynamic works and how the power struggles work. And then I'll jump in and I'll say something like, yeah, and we can put dragons in there. You know what I mean? So like, it's one of those things. It's one of those, oh, my babies, what's up?
This is Jackson Gray, the young steampunk James Bond.
Hey, Jackson.
Hi.
Hi. I love those goggles. Your hat.
Right. Good night,
It's
guys.
red inside.
That's what I say every day.
Every day.
Aww. That's
Amazing.
the best.
Forevertron.
Good night, you guys.
Cute. I love that. You're so lucky. They didn't do what Tina Fey's daughter did to her. Did you see that video? She was on one of the late night shows and her daughter comes up and goes, loser.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
That's incredible. This actually kind of leads into, so we've got some really, really awesome questions that have been coming up throughout in the chat. How do you guys balance your day job and writing, and obviously now too, family on top of it?
That's not my family. I rent them.
Top dollar. Sorry.
It's like it for it's tough. I mean, it is. It's having an amazing support staff that lets you do that. Really, like for me, having an amazing wife that is like, okay, I'll go put the kids to bed, and you go write, and you do that. And like when I was out in California for literally half of 2 years, she held down the fort. And it's like that with military families all over the world. One spouse or the other is or both sometimes, is such the foundation that keeps the house up. And just honestly, carving out an hour here, a half an hour there, you're in a hotel room, sit down and do it. Like, it's so easy to go turn on whatever we want, now, like go throw on Netflix, throw whatever on, but you just got to sit there and write. That's the best thing to do, is just sit down and write. You have to get up at 5 a.m. before everyone's up, do that. Having a weekend, take a few hours at a coffee shop, because eventually you'll get to where you need to be. It's just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I know I wouldn't be able to do any of it without my wife. Jen she takes care of all of us. So for me to be able to step away from the family, from our 3 amazing girls, it's difficult because I don't want to leave my family's side at all. But luckily, Jen's there to kind of give me the space to be able to do that. She knows I love to create. I'm a creative person. If I don't, I fall into a funk and get depressed about things. So she knows I need that, and she's very good about giving me that time. And just, again, I would fall apart if it weren't for her, and I would not be able to do this. So definitely having that support system, in my case, my wife. So
that's amazing. You guys are lucky.
Very.
Definitely.
Alexis Machine asks a really interesting question. What element will your series use to grab the attention of those who aren't familiar or don't necessarily like steampunk and convince them to embrace it? So, like, what's kind of
dragons? Did I mention dragons?
I think I'm going to start off the answer for you guys. From kind of a producer's point of view, I think the series that you have created is very grounded in our current reality, and that's how the series opens. And you get to know the characters very, very well before you go on their adventure with them. So you're already rooting for them before you kind of take off, so to speak, which is what drew me into the series. But that's my answer. What's yours?
Well, kind of like Game of Thrones, right? You've got the Wall, you've got Westeros, you've got these different worlds that you look forward to because they become characters in and to themselves. And yes, steampunk is a element of it. There you go, Perry again.
Thank you.
Is considered the godfather of steampunk. But that's just one element of the show. And that's just one world. There's many worlds we're going to go see. It's not like fighters are going to see like an infinite number of worlds. That's not it. We have a very specific number of worlds that we're going to visit, but each world is very unique. So to answer your question, is steampunk's just one element. There's a lot more elements to the show.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that we've kind of always focused on as much as possible is character. It's one of those things that when we started writing it, if you don't have characters that you love or can relate to, then what's the point? We think we've done a really good job of creating characters that are going to draw people in, and just finding out about their lives and how they deal with situations. I mean, that's really what it's all about. Everything else is decoration around what our characters are going to be doing. So our characters are very compelling. So we're hoping that everyone really enjoys that portion.
So speaking of your characters and these awesome worlds that you're building, I really want to make sure we have time to show this teaser that you guys shot all the way back in the fall. Do you guys maybe want to set up that clip that you sent to me, and afterwards we can talk about a little bit of the behind the scenes?
Yeah. So it was one of those things. So, our background with public affairs, public relations, we have a lot of folks around us that are, they're in the industry, they're cameramen, they have the skill sets to actually, create television shows and movies and things of that nature. So we're lucky enough to be around those people. And, Eric and I really wanted to have something tangible that we could show to people when we were going out with the show or whatever the case may be, to say, this is what it could be. This is what the world could look like. And we did this back in the fall with a shoestring budget. A lot of favors asked of friends who came through and took care of us. And we picked a scene out of episode 2, the opening scene of episode 2, because in episode 1, the pilot, you're on our Earth and you're seeing what these kids are going through, and it builds up to the end where you have the big reveal. Well, in episode 2, we really wanted to jar the audience and kind of bring them into the next world right away, and get them involved in the multiverse right away. So we figured kind of a cool way to do that. So, we got a bunch of friends together, a lot of parkour athletes that decided to help us out for this shoot. And it's just a few minutes. And this is only a part of what we're going to show today is just a part of what we shot. The rest of it's we're going to try to put out on our YouTube channel when we get some time, but it's a quick teaser. So I'm hoping you guys like it. Eric and I really wanted to get a scene that grabbed attention. So hopefully this kind of does it for you.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, let's take a look at the Evermor short film, The Arrival. All right. How awesome was that? That's so good.
That was so awesome.
I'm so excited for this. I remember when you were telling me about this way back in the fall, actually, and there's so many fun anecdotes from just the shooting. Actually, so did you guys, I'm not sure, did you mention vets yet and working with them? I wanted to make sure that you were able to talk a little bit about that.
So we have a nonprofit arm of our production company, RONIN Entertainment, and VETS is that nonprofit. It stands for Veterans in Entertainment Trades and Services. And basically what we do is we take veterans or D&D employees who want to learn the craft of filmmaking, and we bring them in on our projects, on different productions that we're on, and just teach them how to use a camera, teach them how to work lights, sound, all that good stuff. And then they can use whatever project they're working on with us as a resume builder, and take that as part of their portfolio and go and try to get jobs in the industry. And we do that all obviously free of charge. And, it's one of those things where we're trying to help out other individuals who love the art of filmmaking like we do. So, yeah.
I have to tell you, I visited the set one day when you were shooting. You shot for many days. I was only able to come for one, but I expected like 5 people and
yeah, me too.
A camcorder. And when I arrived on set and you had craft services and you had departments and you had makeup and wardrobe, you had everything. It was so professionally done, and you were directing. And I gotta say, I was so blown away by the whole thing.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, and it was one of the biggest productions we've kind of done as a group of friends that are trying to do this. And I was talking to Eric about it beforehand, and I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull this off. And he's in Wisconsin, you know what I mean? So he's frustrated because he can't, like be there physically to help out. But he was just, the moral support was huge for me, because he was like, you got this. It's going to be fine. You're going to do great. But yeah, like I said, we had a lot of friends that, that came out and just showed up and helped out. Steadicam operators. I mean, everybody, the costume design folks, the set design, all those guys. We just happened to have friends who had friends, and we worked it all out, and shooting in that location in Riverside, downtown Riverside is beautiful. It has this old Spanish vibe to it. The Mission Inn is absolutely gorgeous. But we found this alleyway with a nice cobblestone street, and that we figured that'd be a great place to have a market, right? Little did we know at the time, during our scout, we didn't see this, but it's a real popular place for bums to hang out at night. We did not know that. So when we got to set that day to, get it cleaned up and everything, there's all these people just sitting there hanging out, so we had to kind of like, we're going to shoot something really quick. And some of the folks didn't really want to move. So we're like, screw it, just keep them in there, and we'll get them in the scene. That alley is the back alley of a bar in the city as well. And there was this drunk guy who kept coming out every time we would say action, this dude decided, I think he was waiting by the door, listening for action, right? And he would just pop out with his beer and just be drunk. And so, like, if you watch closely in some of the scenes, you can see a dude with like a pitcher, or not a pitcher, but a pint of beer, just like watching all this stuff happen. And we just kept it in because we couldn't, and without making a scene of the whole thing, we just like, screw it, just keep him in there. It's going to be fine. We'll edit around him, So it worked out. It really worked out.
That's the beautiful thing about like misdirection in film, though, because I have watched this a couple of times and I've never noticed. I've even been looking, because I know you told me that exact story, and I was looking and I was like, where is this guy who seems to be in here? But it's almost like a sleight of hand magic trick in a way. It's like, look over here, here's where the action's happening, and then over here there's the guy like,
Perry's still working on this too. So what you guys watched was like still work in progress. There's a whole fight scene that happens after that.
Yeah, the visual effects aren't quite there yet. It was my paltry attempt at doing visual effects. Our sound design isn't quite done yet, so it is still a raw version of what the final is going to be. But yeah, hopefully it comes out great, and we'll throw that up on our YouTube channel, and you guys can check that out. And I'm sure Legion M is going to put it out as well. So yeah, you'll be able to watch it here fairly soon.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I love, you guys are such doers. Working with people who actually go get things done. Being able to use this video, if someone's like, oh, I'm not sure, we could say, well, we have a proof of concept. It's a rare and extraordinary thing that you. And
if we don't use it, if it doesn't go anywhere as far as us using it for pitching or whatever, it was one of those experiences where it was amazing. I was super stressed going into it, like in tears the night before, but after the fact, as budding filmmakers, it really helped kind of push us over that edge of not being quite sure if we could do it to being somewhat sure you could do it. So, it was a good experience.
So we've got some more questions, and I know that you guys, have a lot going on, and so I don't want to keep you too long, but maybe we can just speed through the last couple of questions so that everyone can get the answers. Let's see. So Lacus429 says, how scary is it to take a leap towards this dream of yours? And now that you've done it, what's the most gratifying moment to date?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's, it's one of those quick questions for the end of the stream.
Right?
Well, I mean, it's been in a crazy journey so far, and we're not there yet. We're at the most critical point right now, which is we're literally polishing the script right now to take it out. So what's gratifying for me is that you go and you write, and to actually have someone go, oh, you're pretty good. Like, what you did was good. Like, it kind of makes it all worthwhile just to have that, to know just that we got this far, is really, really gratifying. And now we've got this amazing team with Legion M and Perry and I and everybody else. I mean, when I say Legion M, I mean, that's everybody out there watching. You're part of this. And we're standing at the door of Hollywood, and we're just we're not going to knock. We're just going to kick it in. So
I love that.
Nobody has time to knock.
We're going to send more Hornets. Look, I have
oh yeah,
Evermor
awesome.
art. I'm going to call it a murder hornet.
A murder hornet. That's great.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have another one. Wait, murder mosquito.
That's awesome.
a lot of murder in your house, Terry. There's a lot of murder.
Well,
Yeah.
one of those days.
Mysterious WN1 asks, is there any symbolism or underlying theme woven into your storytelling? For example, they say the Matrix touched on Christianity.
Ooh, that's good. Perry, your turn.
These people are amazing asking these questions. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of different themes woven into the storyline. A lot of it has to do with, family, faith, things of that nature, things that kind of test who you are as a person. And I think one of those things that kind of really speak to me the most is the fact that, you have this ability to escape. The Forevertron is a machine that can literally help you get away from your world and escape and kind of leave things behind. But it's deciding to stay and to figure things out and to solve these problems. And how do you do that? Who do you lean on? And for us, for Eric and I, we're big family guys. So for us, it's our strength can come from our family. So it's a big deal for us to have that idea of being able to face problems and not leaving, running away, and handling situations in the best way you know how, because that's all we really can do. So that's the one that really speaks to me a lot as we're writing this show.
And I think the multiverse in itself gives voice to the other. You guys know what that means. It was Guillermo del Toro talked about that in The Shape of Water, giving voice to the other. We talked about earlier with the world of the 700 nations. Like, that gives a voice to the other, to that other group of people, and we've layered that throughout Evermor. I think there's a lot of symbology there and symbolism, and even our logo, there's some symbolism in there buried, if you can find it.
That's right, actually. Would you guys like to talk at all about the logo?
Sure.
Let me bring it up on screen. But you guys go ahead. I'll bring it up on screen as you go.
Like, come on, Taylor.
I don't see it.
And go.
Files are in the computer. So yeah, the logo, if you look at certain letters on it, there's different shapes which kind of correspond to some of the worlds that we'll see. There's symbology there. If you're looking at the two crossed arrows like that, one of the O's in Evermor, and some of the cryptic I can't even talk tonight.
Hieroglyphics.
Thank you, Perry.
Got you back.
And
That's good work, husband.
For sure.
The V as well. There's something very special about the V if you look at it in Evermor that should pop out to you and give some hint to the teaser that we just watched today.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, you know, we're going to visit a bunch of worlds, and so, you know, if you look at the logo and the letters and the things embedded in those letters, without giving too much away again, it will kind of inform you on where we're going and where the show is going to take you. So if you get a chance to see it, examine it, look at it very closely, and you know, you'll see my dragon that I'm talking about.
And even
dragon.
I'm like right up close to my computer screen now, looking at all of these. There's so much detail. I'm actually gonna. So everyone at home is able to see them. So I'm gonna actually just make it a little bit larger, so that people can really study it. Hold on one second. Everybody.
Oh, it's up. I thought we were tap dancing while you were trying to pull it up.
Oh, no. It's been up.
Okay,
there
cool.
we go. There. So now it's even bigger. So yeah, like there's a ton of detail in the logo. Oh, I see it. I see the dragon now.
You guys really thought, as you were developing this, you really thought of everything, every angle, every layer. You know, I've never gone into a pitch where the soundtrack is already done.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anthony Pedroza.
Yeah.
Anthony came up with that thing, and you know, we got to work on that. I got to work with him a little bit on that piece, and it's a very nuanced piece of music. Not only is it a beautiful melody and kind of mesmerizing, but again, it's the details, right? Paying attention to the details. So you listen closely, and you can hear different things in there.
Yeah.
You know, metal being banged on, you know, industrial things happening, you know, steam being let off, a lot of different elements of that sound design that he crafted in there that also informs you of what's going to happen in the story. So we wanted to be sure to be able to have all these different, you know, layers that people could peel away and see things, because, you know, we always enjoy that ourselves in stories, right? When you get into a movie or a book or anything really entertainment wise, and you start seeing all the details and the Easter eggs, and I mean, that stuff, I geek out over that stuff all day long. So to be able to do that with our own show is one of the more exciting things that we got to do, I think.
Well, Anthony, he was visiting family in Wisconsin, and he went and saw the park.
He sure did. Yeah.
Oh, that's so neat. So he was like truly inspired by the park itself, and was able to get the same feeling that you guys got.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. He's a fantastic. He actually went to the nursing home, played a song for Dr. Evermor. He was there.
Yeah. Super special.
That's so cool. I have here something that Twaya gave me. Maybe you guys can just very quickly talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
That is the time traveler token. So that's the Forevertron on the front there. And I don't even know all the symbology off the top of my head that's on it. But if you look, there's symbols around the outside of it that talk about it. And that's actually, I forget the name of the thing on the back there. It's like an alien spacecraft thing. It's actually not the art. And Twy is going to kill me later for forgetting the name of it. But there's a lot of art there.
Yeah, I mean, this as a piece, it's you know, it's pretty extraordinary and detailed. But it just gives you the idea of how well thought out all of this is.
Yeah, and that actually will play a part in the show. That particular art piece right there.
Yeah.
This one.
That one. That exact one.
That exact one.
So guys, I don't want to keep you too much past our time here, but one last question, sort of posed by Rory Ross. Curious about where we are and when there will be that table read that everyone was so excited about. That was one of the things that when I think about the coronavirus and when it struck, like that was like right on the edge. Like I remember It was the type of thing where it was like, you know, concerts are canceled, March Madness is canceled, and then the Evermor table read is canceled. And it's like, no, everything I love is gone. So I don't know if there's any updates there for anyone in the chat, but you know, because things are sort of still moving forward, unless you've got some like super secret military stuff that you could tell us about, so that we would know.
Yeah, sure.
Damn it, Taylor.
Are located at, so I mean that Terry can probably answer the table read thing. I think the intention is to still do it at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the original purpose of the table read is that we were about to go out with the script and wanted to hear the dialogue spoken by actors so we could make final tweaks for the dialogue. With coronavirus, maybe there's a way to do an online version, but because it's not a project that has sold yet, I'm a little just being the cautious executive. I'm a little concerned about putting that out on the internet. So I think the more likely answer is that we'll go ahead and finish up the script and go out to the market. And hopefully it sells and we'll do a table read at that point. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, big time.
For all of us.
Well, we're really looking forward to the day when we can do it. Hopefully some people even here in the chat may even be there. You never know, because a lot of people submitted different self-tape auditions for it, which were really cool. So really looking forward to the day where we can actually get together again and do it. Guys, thank you so much for coming out and speaking with everyone and sharing all of this really awesome information. Is there anything that you would like to, where can people find you on social media, and anything else that you want to let people know about as we wrap it up?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, so it's all under our production company, Ronin Entertainment. So just look that up on IG. And then YouTube as well. We're going to try to post most of the behind the scenes of the scenes that we shot, the final scenes when they're done, through our Ronin 7 Entertainment YouTube channel. So find that, subscribe, all the good stuff that people ask you to do on YouTube. And then obviously through Legion M, everything that we do is with Legion M. So you'll be able to find stuff there as well, on both sides of the fence. So yeah, pretty simple to find us, to be honest.
We have a Facebook page as well.
Yeah, we do have a Facebook page. That's right.
Dr. Evermor client's Facebook page. I think it's at Dr. Evermor and then at Evermor TV are the two Facebook.
Yep.
And going back to the musical part of all this, aren't we forgetting something?
Ooh, I almost forgot about this.
Oh,
wow.
We're past our hour. It's time to go, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Perry Covington. That's our time.
Oh, I think,
As we send you guys off, thank you so much, first of all, once again. But as we send you guys off, so Eric sent me something this morning that I don't know if Perry wants me to play, but I have it loaded in. And now that I've
Eric's
set it
one
up,
of those friends where you're like, you
song.
wish you could strangle him all the time, but you just can't because he's too far away,
And so would you set up this song that I'm gonna play this as we head out, as we do our end graphic.
You want me to set up the song? Is that what you're saying?
I do.
I hate you. All right, look, I'm gonna own it. So here's the thing. Back in the early 2000s, I was a musician and I was in a band full of men. And we did music together. We went to Asia. We toured Asia a little bit. And the song that Taylor is going to play against my wishes is one of our songs that we did early 2000s, circa early 2000s. So the song is called Bounce. And I hope you enjoy it. And if you feel like dancing, go for it. You know what I mean? It'll make you want to dance.
It's going to make you want to dance. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much again. It was really amazing to have you both on. Erik Figge, Perry Covington, the creators of Evermor, the show in development at Legion M. Also the amazing Terry Luberoff, our fearless leader and COO. Thank you guys so much again. I will leave you with the incredible tunes of Mr. Perry Covington and his band. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
I like to know you.